It is Saturday afternoon, and as promised, I'm going to work a little bit more on this buffet, Duncan Phyfe Buffet that we started yesterday, just talking about prepping and plans for it and that sort of thing. So today I want to do a little bit of staining and talk to you about staining again, and a little bit of what I do to the insides of these pieces, and also how to condition the wood for staining, because one of the things that happens when you sand wood down, or you strip it down and then you sand it and then you put stain on, is it can create a problem called blotching. And blotching is where the stain soaks in deeper in some spots than others. It's just way darker than the rest of the stain, and it actually almost looks black. So what it is where there is a spot on the wood where you've stripped or sanded, and that has a more open pore there, the stain is going to soak right down into it and just suck it up. And then the rest of it that doesn't have such open pores is going to take the stain just evenly. So I use, I can use two things. I'll show you one of them. So this is what a lot of people use. It's Minwax. It's a wood conditioner. So with this, all you do is shake it up. It doesn't matter if you shake it. It's like it's not like Varathane, so it doesn't matter if it gets a little bit bubbly. What you do is brush this on, let it sit for, I let it sit for about 10 minutes, and then wipe it off. And then you're supposed to put your stain on within a couple of hours, but I learned from somebody who does wood a lot to let it sit overnight so that this dries right into all the pores and it creates an even surface. So if you think like a skating rink, it just becomes like this one smooth surface on the top after you apply something like this, which is, it's the Minwax wood conditioner. So that's just one brand, there's many out there. But what I also use, and I didn't have it out to do this with last night, and I was kind of in a hurry, is just shellac. You can either make your own shellac or buy shellac, and the same thing, you brush it on and then just give it a bit of a wiping off and let it soak into the piece. So that stops the blood. Usually it stops the dark staining, or what they call blotching, and blotching is really hard to get out. However, if you do get blotching on a piece, take something like Barkeep's Friend, something with oxalic acid in it, probably borax. I'm not sure if borax has that in it, but it might work. And just scrub it in with a little brush and see if you can lift some of the black blotching out of it. And that's like, it's one of the worst things that you can have happen after you've prepped your piece really nicely. So I'm going to show you this piece. I'll show you what it looks like on top. It's beautiful, beautiful wood. I did do a couple of spot tests on the doors just to see what the doors had for wood. And like I said, usually they used really good wood on top of these pieces, like mahogany or oak or maple. And then they would use cheaper wood like maple or something else, fruit woods or things like that for the doors. I know Phyfe used to use mahogany on just about all of his pieces. So when these reproductions came out, they tried to make them very similar, and they also used a lot of mahogany and oak. Oak is less expensive than mahogany, but a lot of people find mahogany just really, really heavy, so they don't even use it. I like it. I love the wood grain. As I was cleaning the back rail yesterday, remember I said I thought it might be oak, but I think the back rail is actually mahogany as well. I got looking at the grain once it got really, really cleaned up. So the top is all mahogany. The sides of this, I believe, are mahogany, but the sides of this I'm going to paint. So the only thing I want wood on this is the very, very top. Hi. So the wood conditioner is on, and I have let it dry overnight. So it's nice and smooth already, but what I'm going to do is just take one last little run of it with a buffing pad. And a buffing pad is not like a, it is a sanding pad, but it's really, really, really light. Buffing pad is a really light sanding pad. They're generally blue. You can get them a store. This one is a type of buffing pad because it's a 1500 grit. You can tell by the side. It says 1500. So I'm just going to give it a bit of a wipe down. So all I'm doing is on the wood conditioner that has sat on here all night. All I'm doing is so you can see here, it's nice and clean. The wood grain is beautiful. I cleaned it up really well. But the wood conditioner I brushed on, wiped off after about 10 minutes. And then I'm going to just sand any little bit of nubs off that. I'm just going to raise my tripod up here a little bit so we can get you on the top of this piece. Sorry. So like I said, if you don't use wood conditioner on it or shellac on your wood that you've sanded, you're pretty much going to end up with black blotchy spots, and that is really awful to try to deal with. So let's go here. I'm going to try and give you a good shot of this now. All right, so I have to do a little bit of repairs on the side with some dry decks. That's what I use for filling in. I only use dry decks to fill if I'm going to paint over it. If I'm going to stain over it, I use Pro Bond wood filler. So these are all my little doodads here. I'm going to clean these out. I'm going to stain this with Varathane Kona. It's kind of my go-to for having just a little bit more depth to the wood without it being too dark. So I'm going to turn my lights up here. And it adds a bit of depth and a bit of moodiness to it. I don't find it too dark, so that's nice, but it's a beautiful color. I've done so many pieces with Kona stain and people just absolutely love them. I've done entire dining room suites in it, and it's a gorgeous color. So that is the Varathane. So I'm just gonna see if there's any nubs on here. You either want to use a buffing pad or something like 600, 800. This one's a 1500. And it's just taking any dust nibs off that might have gotten in there overnight. Because I don't have a dust-free painting room, right? So if you don't have a dust-free painting room, as you do things that are wet and it dries, you're going to get little dust nubs in them. So I want this perfectly soft and smooth, even the sides and the front, before I stain. Okay, so that's that simple. And then I'll take a little cloth and wipe any dust off. And then, before you stain, the last thing I do is I use my tap cloth. A tap cloth is just, these are just a couple of dollars at the hardware store. A tap cloth is just cheesecloth with wax on it. I wouldn't advise making your own because you might make it too waxy and then your product might not stick to it. But it's always a good idea to use a cheesecloth, wax cheesecloth, a tap cloth, to get any last little tiny bits of anything off there. So now I can feel this. There's absolutely nothing. It's perfectly smooth. No dust, no bumps, no flaws. So now I can go ahead and stain it. Now, even though I've used the wood conditioner, there's still a risk that it is going to do some of the black staining, the blotching. So what I do usually is I put it on and I fairly quickly take it off. I don't want to leave it sitting on there because then I'm really risking blotching. So I just kind of get it on. I tend to kind of put it on with a rag more than a brush. So I'll just get it on with the brush quickly. And then I'll take my rag and just start ragging it out really, really quick. Okay, so that's pretty sloppy, but I'm going to take my rag and I'm going to spread it around with my rag, not with the brush. And also I find this way you don't waste as much stain as well too. So I'm just going to put it where I want it, smoosh it around, and I'm going to drag it out because there's a little bit too much over here, so I'm going to drag it out more. But you can see how it's deepening there compared to here. And push it up into the edge here nicely. And onto this end. I'm going to go right over the end here now. Oop. I don't know if you can see that. Just right over this end with the stain. And on the back here. The back I didn't put wood conditioner on, so I'm sort of expecting it to do a little bit of the blotching with the black. And again, the black is just where the stain, you can see right there, it's picking up darker in areas where the wood has more open grain. And that's just with any wood. Wood has, it can be one piece of wood, and it can have an area of open grain and an area of closed grain all in the same foot. So it just, you really have to be careful with using the wood conditioner or something like it, like shellac, to get the pores closed as much as you can before you put your actual stain on, because there's nothing worse than trying to get rid of black blotches out of your stained piece. So like I said, Barkeep's Friend works sometimes on it, sometimes a little bit of bleach. Some people use toothpaste. I mean, there's a few things you could use, so you just have to keep trying to get rid of the black, but it is horrible to try and get rid of, let me tell you. I actually had a dining room set I was doing that on, and I got blotchiness even though I had done the wood stain on it, or the wood conditioner, and I had to sand the whole thing down and redo the whole thing. So I didn't want the client to have it looking like that. Okay. Well, I think I need a camera person, that's what I need, because I never remember to focus my lens. So I'm just rubbing this out, and like I said, I prefer to get it on and then just rub it out very quickly, because I don't like it to be sitting like some people put it on, they let it sit 3, 5, 10 minutes. I don't ever do that. Okay, so it's on. Now, this is what I do next. It's never done until it's done. So now it's got a layer of it on. It's way thicker down here than up there. So I'm going to take a clean side of my cloth and I'm going to pull it off. And keep pulling it off. And bring that wood grain back up. More. So that pulled off quite a bit. You can see how rich that is now, hey? And then I'm going to go through the whole piece and blend it out one last time. Just like that. At this point, you want to make sure the stain is even everywhere. And really when I'm doing this, the stain is just buffing out itself. It's not even tacky anymore, it's just smooth. I'm going to get some off this rail. Like that. Okay. So, that's what it looks like. Now to me, this looks a little bit darker. So I'm going to go at it again here with the dry side of my cloth. And I'm going to pull some more off. And that's okay, as long as you make sure it's evenly going on. These grains of wood here are picking the stain up a little bit differently than on the other end. Okay, that's better. Now, that's pretty much got it. This side looks a little darker only because there's no light over here. But if I wanted to lighten this up, or if I made a mistake and I didn't want it to be that way, I would just put some mineral spirits on my cloth, just a little bit, and I would just go in and remove the excess. Or I could darken that end to match this end. But I know this looks darker here just because the light's shining right on it there. So it looks much brighter on this end, but isn't that pretty? It's just a beautiful grain. And this is the mahogany. So that's going to be the color of the top of it. I probably won't even do another coat of stain on it because I really, really like that sort of rustic brown look. I was looking at some other colors before we came on. I was looking at black, I was looking at espresso, and I was looking at pine, a few different colors. But I really love this sort of rich, it almost is like a rich mahogany look, where you see a lot of mahogany pieces stained this color. But it is the Kona Varathane stain is what it is. Okay, so here I did do a bunch of sanding on it last night. So I hand sanded all these bits. I hand sanded the doors, the frame, and then right here, if you can see this, this is where I took some TSP after I had sanded it, and I just wanted to wipe down the drawer frame here, and I just wanted to see what kind of wood it was, and it's not mahogany. So then I did the doors, and I sanded those down, and I checked over here, same thing, and it's not mahogany. So that was really typical of how they used to do things. I haven't sanded the base of it yet, but I wanted to show you a couple things with this little cabinet. Interesting little things that probably they used to have quite a bit in these old pieces. So this is the top drawer, and it has a green felt thing in here. It's kind of ugly, it's kind of all, but these pull right out like that. So I'm actually going to toss this. It's really dirty. I was thinking of recovering it, but it's just a pain. And then I will clean that up, vacuum it out, wash it out, and put some stuff in there to clean it up a little bit. This one over here, so you don't have to keep those in. I think modern day buffets don't have that sort of stuff. People can buy dividers if they want to at the store. Same thing with this one. This one has green felt in the bottom, has dividers in it. And I mean, it's nice and all, but it's not necessary. So I'm going to see if I can get these out. So there's one, it just broke right out. And there's two. And there have a nice clean looking drawer that they can put napkins or whatever. I will clean this up and I'll use some wipe on poly, just a little bit, and I'll brush it in there on the drawers to make it look really nice. But these are not necessary. If people wanted to have little dividers, they can, put them back in. I might put these back in just without the felt in the bottom, but I think that's a piece. I think it looks kind of corny. So these, I'm leaving the inside. I generally don't paint the inside of the doors. Some people do. And then, sorry. And then down here where the doors are, it's kind of, I don't know what that is. It's not sandpaper powder, but it's something. So I will wash it up as good as I can. And then I'll take some wipe on poly on a cloth and I'll wipe each shelf. I won't do the sides and I won't do the door, but I'll do each shelf so that it looks really nice and tidy. But otherwise, these are in really good shape. All the drawers are in. They just need to be wiped out, and then a little bit of, you could even use wax inside to sort of tidy them up a little bit and make them look nice and new. But that is it. It's got a couple of spots over here that are nicks in the wood that I'm going to fill. And then I have to sand the base. And then tomorrow when I get my paint, I will start painting this on Monday. So that's it, guys. And just take another look at this beautiful wood. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's going to be beautiful when it's done. So I will talk to you later. Thanks.